welcome Montell Douglas, track star, former 100-meter record holder, turned GB Bobsleigh athlete, and all-round need for speed athlete with an international sporting career spanning over 14 years. You name it, she's done it. Olympics, Commonwealth Games, summer and winter, World Championships, European Championships, British Championships, and she's even run at Loughborough. I know, pretty big place, unreal. So how is training going post-lockdown, and how do you train for a winter sport during the summer months?
I know, it's madness. Thanks for having me. Honestly, it's been tough. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's tough anyway. Like you said, training for winter sport when, believe it or not, I know it's cold here, but it's not that cold, guys. It's not. It's a different kind of level, and there aren't any mountains. There's not a push. There's not a racetrack, but a lot of the training is actually obviously sprinting and athletics-based training. So a bobslayer is a cross between an athlete, a sprinter, for example, and a weightlifter, because we lift heavy stuff and we run fast. That's pretty much the crux of what we do. So a lot of the training is literally just at the track, getting the core stuff in. Now the pushing happens either at Bath University, which is where we were based for GB Bobsleigh. But my teammate actually has now a bobsleigh track at her house, believe it or not, like a little push track. Yeah, in the concert in Durham, like Newcastle way, which I just had my first camp there last weekend.
That's nice of them. They put it in Durham and Bath, just down the road.
Thank you for appreciating that. Yeah, it is. I thought Bath was far, and then I'm like, oh, actually, we've not done this well. Yeah, but I think it's just nice because I get a bit more opportunity, I guess, to go and stay there and just kind of have a proper camp and stay there. Whereas Bath, traveling down there, it's a lot more, it's expensive to stay, to eat, those kinds of things, and I can get on with the family and stuff, so that's nice. But essentially, I'll be down there, end of the month to get some push training. So that's what we basically been doing. And the lockdown there was not even that open. It was literally jumping over fences, trying to get in there, running off the track.
Wasn't it? It's like everyone was literally just like water gallons on the end of poles. Yeah, this is weights now. Like people were selling like concrete blocks and stuff. It was just nuts. Like how desperate people got.
I didn't even see any weights actually, which, believe it or not, I'd literally had bands for 3 months. I was at the park with just resistant bands doing stuff. But I think it helped in a way. I always think the positive, I always try to turn things around. I think things happen for a reason. So part of me was like, you know what, this is a chance to work on this stuff, because you actually neglect all this stuff. So I kind of worked on my general strength, because the not the lifting heavy all the time. You have to work on the functional stuff, and it's hard to fit everything in and cover all bases. And I thought, this gives me an opportunity to have a heavy base, and I did. I got heavy, I got strong, like super strong, and I just had to work then and get back into my running. So it did benefit me in a certain way, because I was actually injured for 3 months over lockdown. I couldn't run anyway because I hurt my foot just before they locked us down, beginning of April.
Oh my God, snap! I did my ankle at the start, and everyone was outside, literally, and I was like, everyone's locked down, and I'm stuck inside, and I was like, oh, it's actually fine. This is brilliant.
Yeah, because you couldn't do anything anyway. Exactly the same. Yeah, I had bursitis in my foot, last track session on the track, and then that was it, lockdown. Then I couldn't run anyway. So I was actually like you, cycling. We got a bike. I was doing hill runs on the bike to get training in. I was doing whatever I could, to be honest. It's always a blessing in disguise. You just gotta find
I totally reckon that lockdown would have helped so many athletes with the longevity of their career, like having an actual break and like working on everything. Like as rugby players, I think we all started doing mobility because none of us could touch the floor and hadn't thought about touching the floor for like 10 years.
Yeah, you're like, what's that?
Yeah, yoga. Adrienne is my new best friend. # Adrienne's yoga sessions, all over it. But it's actually such a good way of thinking about it. And I guess for you as an athlete, a power athlete who's just always working at 100% for so many years, to then taper it back and do banded stuff and then think about the movement patterns, it definitely would give you a time to just refocus and recenter everything around your training. So obviously you're saying about bobsleigh being a cross between a weightlifter and being really fast, to put it simply. So is it kind of a bit bizarre that you've got this sport that's traditionally a summer sport, like sprinting, and then you're pairing it with a ridiculously cold environment, and it's like you're training as you would be a sprinter, but then you're always remembering, no, when I apply this, it's going to be a completely different atmosphere.
Yeah, definitely. The first shock was, I think, being in Pyeongchang for the 2018 games, so the Winter Olympics in 2018. I made as reserve because I had surgery in the May. I actually was running really well in track that year in the summer. My first open R, smashed it. And then in training that following week, I ruptured my hamstring, so it came completely off the bone. So then I was at, GB, Team GB kind of like pre-camps, sitting in there in a wheelchair and getting ready for the games. But making the games, I realised, oh my gosh, the top of the mountain, it was minus 26, minus 28 at Pyeongchang. When I went to Beijing for the summer games, it was 38 degrees. So
Nah.
the contrast is insane because you still essentially have to do the same job. I still have
Yeah.
to run fast in a straight line, just
Yeah.
in completely different contrast weather. And
That's like a
the
50-degree difference.
Oh, and that's real life. That's literally how it was. And the wind chill at minus 20 is insane. Like, you can't have anything open. Like, everything was covered up. I had a hat on every day, and I had a snood on over my face. You could only see my eyes because as soon as you get into the wind, it was cutting your face. It actually hurt. Like, we would be like, the weather is hurting me. But you find ways about it. But it does actually, like anything that's kind of adversity helps you grow as an athlete, because you've got to find ways to get ready, warm. I mean, we were steaming. You literally got steam coming off our suits because you have to be that hot in order for your body functionally and physiologically to work still at the rate at which you would if you was on track.
Yeah.
Yes, it's given me something to think about.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you warm up in minus 26?
So, well, actually, funny enough, at the Pyeongchang Olympic Games, right, they had a track a mini track, maybe like, I think it wasn't very long, maybe 60 meters max, but obviously you need to slow down. So you could only really get maybe 20 out acceleration in, but it was track layered, but it had no sides. So it was kind of like on the balcony bit, the gap. So half the track actually got frozen because the wind was coming in. Any moisture in the air freezes instantly. Half the track was frozen and it was just freezing. I was like, this is ridiculous. Why is it not covered? We do a winter sport. It's free. How can I warm up in minus 26? So you did really, the strategies you had, layered up, heated stuff. Like, if you've got a heated vest, wear it now. I wear a heated vest. For half the year, I'm in a heated vest jacket. Half the year, I do not play. I've got 3 layers on minimum every day, like an underlayer, then my tops, then my shaggies on top, salopettes. You have to have passive warming.
Wait, do you sprint in salopettes?
I don't. The people do. There are a lot of countries. I know Germans do. The Canadians do, but I can't because it's too big. How are you going to run in that?
Oh no, I can't sit down on a chair with salopettes.
Exactly. Yeah, some people do. They do. They keep them on, but I'll rather thin layer up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I've actually, the best layer up, this is a little secret, no joke, is actually like Primark basic. They're like £3. This some leggings. They're thermal ones because they got a thing in underneath,
like long johns
inside. Yes, and they're basically long johns. They are my staple. They're on every day. It doesn't matter. They're not part of the official kit, but you can't see them underneath. But I'm wearing them because it's freezing.
I've got Primark leggings on.
yeah, literally. I'm like, sorry, but it's only for keeping me warm. I'm not. How am I going to function?
That's top tips because I mean, not to compare, but like we train in like -3, but we get covered in freezing cold mud in the rugby, and like honestly, the cold gets you first. Like, I don't care. Punch me in the face, literally, but it is cold.
It's true. That's the thing. You would rather get hit, smacked. You would. You're like, I don't deal with this weather. It's just abusive. It
hurts you from your core.
Yeah.
It's like it feels like every bit of blood inside you just wants to get out because it's just so cold. And
it actually makes you angry inside.
Makes you well, I mean, maybe that's like the perfect game day prep, isn't it? Like, just be really cold.
But you guys are not wearing much clothing compared to us, so I rate that. I could never.
I will be buying some Primark long johns.
Yeah, at least for warm up. Do you know what I mean? Just get warm and then you take them off. You'll be fine.
Yeah, and we have some talent transfer athletes. I know some people who did athletics and gone into rugby, and they take forever to warm up. Like they're warming up every limb, and we're literally like half a lap of the pitch, couple calf raises. I'm good to go. I'm over that. And now you've got actually warm up and in my. Honestly, I bet you're out for 4 hours. I can't imagine.
Yeah, it's a good hour. It's a good hour warm up for 5 seconds of pushing. Legit, and it's an hour warm up for 5 seconds.
Yeah, if you get a medal at the end of it, then we'll be taking
it's worth it. Yeah, exactly.
So who works the longest, the marathon runners or the bobsleigh? I actually think it might be you.
Yeah, relative, definitely.
For sure. Okay, right. Getting into these questions that was massively off piste. Okay, so growing up, who were your biggest sporting influences, and how did you first get into athletics?
So growing up, my sport influence, I very rarely, I think, I didn't have many sport influences in terms of, oh, I want to be like them, or you know what I mean. I'm not seeing like Serene on TV. I'm not going to see that because I never really saw professional women on screen. We just didn't. So I was a huge football like fan from when I was 10. Like, I was an all boy football team when I was 10 years old. Football was going to be my sport. My dad was like, "You're going to be a footballer, play for England," you know. And then I was like, "Sorry, Dad, I couldn't run up and down the pitch. I'm a sprinter." I ran up, we scored a goal. I was like the last person running back. I was out of breath. I was panting. He's screaming at me, "Get back to the line!" And I'm there crawling back to the line. And I'm like, honestly, I loved football, but it just wasn't going to be. So
like
for me,
90 minutes, you got 5 seconds. 90 minutes.
Yeah, literally. And I needed the 90 minutes of the recovery, not the 90 minute game. I couldn't do that. So for me, in terms of in being inspired, I guess all my role models were male. No, I was obviously into football. Henri was like my dream, my favorite. I'm like, oh my gosh, that Robin, that person, Van Persie, they're the people that I looked at like, oh, my sports stars. Yeah, Arsenal fan, of course. But no, I mean, I'm Alan Shearer. He wasn't Newcastle, but that's my boy as well. Like, I didn't discriminate, but I was hugely influenced in football and team sport because that was on TV. I didn't have that kind of thing. But I guess who kind of got me into athletics was actually through school, secondary school. I'm a giant. I'm 5'10", but I'm tall for a sprinter. Everyone always sees, and I look taller than I actually am. You'll see me and be like, "You've got to be at least 6 foot." But I'm 5'10", and when I was younger, I was probably about that size still. I was like 5'8" by 11. So I used to do high jump. And I was really good at high jump because I'm tall. So I started in year 7. I broke year 7, year record, year 8 and year 9 records in school. And then I got talent kind of ID'd when I was at county schools. So when you go to county region, they were like, "Do you train?" I was like, "No." This guy was like, "Oh, come to the track, local track." So I went to local track, and that's how I kind of got into athletics and carried on going from there just because I enjoyed it.
Where was your local track for you?
In Bromley, in Kent. So it's like, I say South London, but it's not because it's BR1, it's Kent postcode.
Yeah, pick up Kent. I'm from Maidstone.
Oh, there you go. There, see, you know, Bromley is not like real Kent because I live like my family lives in Ashford now. A lot of them, and we actually lived in Chatham for a bit. Just
Chatham, that's where I was born.
Really? There.
Yeah.
So yeah, we moved there for about a couple of years when I was at college uni time. I travelled from Chatham to go to Brunel. When I was moving, and then I moved all my stuff from Chatham to go to Brunel. So I'm Kent girl. So I was Kent schools and all that. Kent in English school.
So did you perform at the Julie Rose in Ashford?
Yes. Yeah. I did many regionals, that county champs there. Yeah. 1 and 200.
I threw a javelin really badly there once. It banged off the back of my head, and I was like, "I'm done."
To be fair, it bangs off the back of everyone's head because it's so windy there. I'm not surprised. I would not dare throw a javelin there. You got to be in the stands to be doing that. Yeah, no, you're fine. Honestly, you probably were doing it well. That's probably a good sign.
Okay, it didn't feel good at the time. I felt embarrassing. Anyway. So you trained at Bromley, and then did they push you towards Brunel to start training there?
No, actually. So how did I get into Brunel? I think I wanted to stay obviously London based. My coach was actually going to be training there now. He was able to do some stuff with the uni guys, and I had like an elite squad, but my coach was training there. So it just made sense that, brilliant, I'm going to Brunel, because I actually went through clearing because I remember I think I wanted to do psychology, that was it. And it was oversubscribed, so I had to go through clearing to just pick a subject. So I just picked sports science to get into uni, and then just stayed doing it. I didn't even transfer back over, but I went through clearing to do it, so I went in there a bit late, and then got into Brunel, and it just so worked that it was one of the best places for me to go anyway.
I was going to say that's probably would have been one of your first choices in terms of doing athletics, like the facilities and the people that they've got training around there is unreal.
Oh, it's a beautiful place, and it got better even when I was there. They were building stuff. The gym was new, but obviously it wasn't they've got indoor track. Yeah, they've got a whole indoor facility with pole vault. I know you can do everything in there. They've got a whole gym in there. That was all building as well.
No Primark leggings in the indoor track.
No, it's not needed because there's heating in there. It's heated.
Listen.
Yeah, it's good. So it was really nice to train there and be there for the years because it was perfect facilities, sports uni. They were really understanding with the course. It was just made sense. So everything was.
Yeah, having athletes going through those sports universities, you can tell which ones they've been looked after, because you get to have your balance of your education, and then you've got the university who are pushing you to perform as well. And I know Loughborough and Bath are also like massive on having athletes who want to get an education, but then they want to get the best out of their sporting career. And it's really nice when you have athletes who have got both that education and the sport on both sides, because it just means it takes the pressure off that you've got a distraction. It's not, I'm just an athlete or I'm just a student. That blend gives a real balance to people. So at what point did your athletics go from, it's a bit of a hobby, I'm enjoying this, to like, actually, I might be pretty damn good?
So when did it actually get there? Do you know what? They're very different things that we've just said there. So in terms of it being, I'm not a hobby kind of person. I'm very all or nothing. So even from 10, it was all or nothing. From 50, I do everything 100%. It's just like my nature. I'm just weird like that. Like, but I think it's because my mum, when I was younger, she always said to me, if you're going to do something, you've got to do it properly. Always said that. And it was like a mantra. She's like, I think she was trying to get me to clean my room better. Because she's like,
well, you were like, you know what, I'll leave the room and I'm going to go running.
Do you know what I mean? She's like, make sure you hit it properly. You've got to do your job. You've got to do it properly. Just making sure I'm getting every corner and cranny in the house. She instilled that into me, to be honest. And so I never wanted to fail. I always wanted to do my best all the time. So it just became the fact that I just always tried my best and then got better by doing it. Because, if you're good at something, generally you want to do it more. And I think for me, I didn't really get that I'm going to be an athlete, honestly, until after the Olympic Games. Because I know I told people this, but I never had this dream. I'm not 10. I'm not looking at TV going, what is that? I want to be an Olympian. Because where I'm from, I think, they always say, you got to see it to believe it. Where I'm from, I didn't see, they're not Olympians there. I mean, people didn't even go to college or uni. Like, I'm the first person to graduate from university in my whole lineage, like mum, dad's side, forever. It never happened. We always went to work from 16. So in my mind, I was just like, oh, this is fun. This is good. Kept on doing it. And I was national champion at 16. And then I joined, my coach at the time handed me over because he was like, I've got you to this spot. I don't think I can get you any further. Bless him, because he actually set me up for life and gave me to my coach that actually got me to Olympic Games, got me to break a British record. And I was with him for 10 years. But he put me in that environment to do that. And I wouldn't probably have done that because I was just gone on alongside with what I was doing, because I was just enjoying sport. It wasn't for me ever going to be a career. I always was like, I'm going to be a physio, I'm going to be a psychologist, because that's what I love. I love sport. I'm going to do these things. And it just so happened that after the Olympic Games, I was finally able to, I was graduating from university, so I've got my degree. I'm sponsored now, so I'm a full-time athlete. I could then go I'm going to be a professional athlete, even though I'd already just come from the Olympic Games. Because I was always so focused on everything, I still was like I sacrificed 6 weeks of when I wasn't with my coach for 6 weeks in the Olympic game year, because I said to him, look, I can't focus on, I'm distracted. When I'm at training, I'm thinking about my deadline. So I want to make sure that I do this properly. I've only got one chance at my studies, to be honest. This is dissertation. I'm doing my dissertation. I'm graduating in July. I need to focus. So I did that.
Sorry, did you graduate and do your dissertation in an Olympic year?
Yes, I made the Olympic team the day before I graduated from university.
Nah.
Yeah. The 17th of July, I went to Loughborough. I broke the British record. Then the next day, I went to my graduation as the British record holder. Very next day.
Oh my God. Like, there's like multitasking, and then there's like doing 2 things to the extreme. Like, I know you want to do things well, but like, that's pretty nuts in terms of aiming high. It was very tough.
Yeah, it was the toughest year of my career, but it also, set me up for that's the athlete that I was going to be. That I was able to do that, and I was able to make decisions that were like, well, I sacrificed a lot actually for my sport. I could have not made the Olympic team that year. No one says I'm not going to go to LA and train for 6 weeks because I'm doing my dissertation. But I knew if I go to LA, no one's getting 10,000 words done in it's LA. I'm not doing it. I'm gonna. I wouldn't
even go to training if I was in LA. I'd be like, see ya.
Exactly. You're not gonna make it. We go shopping like every weekend. I'm not doing it. Yeah. So I just said, no, look, I need to focus. This is important. We're gonna do it because I'm quite, anal about that. I'm very all or nothing. So I will go right. Let's do it properly. I'm not overly stressed though. I'm very laid back, but I will give it 100%. Like I'll do it properly. Yeah. So I think that's what happened. That's what helped.
Yeah. And to be honest, like maybe the fact that you had distractions and you had other things and you were always giving 100%, it probably took away from the fact of, oh my God, like that moment of reflection and being overwhelmed and thinking, oh my God, I might be going to the Olympics. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. When it's like, okay, I have to train, and then I've also got to do my dissertation. You don't get time to worry and to think about the gravitas of like how big training for an Olympics is. And it must be like so intense as an athlete. It's not like, oh, I wonder how the team will play or what the coach is going to say, or like you're relying on other players in a team sport. In athletics, it's so intense. It's literally like you have to run this number, and it's just you for 11 seconds, and that's it. And it's just the pressure of that. I can imagine it's 50% being obviously an unreal athlete, and 50% mind. Like the strength you have to stay on the straight and narrow for that, and then be able to peak at exactly the right time. It's something that absolutely, it baffles me. But geez, like for a year, what year was that you did?
That was 2008. So 2007, 2008 year. That was the year that I did it, my final year. I'm going in there, going Olympic year. And I remember writing in my diary, I think my coach told me because he was nuts. He goes, I just wrote in my diary, my training diary, this is no ordinary year. And that was it. That was the first line of the first day, like October training. That's all I wrote. But I never remembered being ultra like, oh my gosh, Olympics, oh my gosh, I'm going to qualify. Because I was 22 as well. So we weren't, the year before, I wasn't even thinking about, we're going to go Olympic Games. This is my time. I just made the World Championship to my first championship team, and I was already happy to be there because I was still focusing on my age group because I was still under 23. So I got a silver medal at Europeans, and even then I didn't plan on getting a silver medal at Europeans. I was ranked like 17th or something, no, 14th going into Europeans. I was ranked 14th, and I ran 2 PBs and ended up getting a silver medal. And I didn't have that, but it was just again like going in there and going, I'm just going to do my best. Do you know what I mean? Like I've worked hard. Like what can you do? I left the whole comp like 100 and 200 meters, got a silver medal, came 6th in the 200 meters, ran through like 5 PBs in that championships, and then went to World Championships, which I wasn't planning on going to because I was only focused on my age group. But then I made it. I was senior number 1 after running Europeans, and then I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to World Champs. Like after battling cold.
Well, having those like smaller incremental goals rather than like looking back at like the massive picture and think, oh, how am I going to get there? I guess that probably kept you a little bit more focused, thinking, right, only like one step at a time. And it's so difficult as an athlete to not sit back and have a bit of a dream and go, oh, maybe I could do this. But when you just compartmentalize and go, right, I'm going to do A, which might lead to B, C, but only ever focus on the immediate thing, because you can't control what's going to happen in 6 months' time. But I guess you can control what's happening in the immediate future. And that's what you did, and you smashed it. So
that's what we say. When we say win, we look at win, and he taught me that. What's important now? That was what win stood for. And you do that on the start line. You're like, because you start getting overwhelmed, like, oh, but what if I lose, or what if I fall, or what if I don't execute? And I'm like, how do we win right now? What's important now? What's important right now is for me to chill out, breathe. What's right now is this drill I'm going to do. What's important right now is to react to this gun. It was always like stay in the moment, because like you said, it's so difficult to stay in the moment when you've got a looming like Olympic trials coming in like 2 weeks, 9 days, 7 days, and it's coming. It's going to be there on that day. You have to be ready. You're going to have to be there. And we just set tasks that we knew we had to complete. He was like, you have to come top 2 and get the qualifying time. And so I got top 2 at trials, but I didn't have the qualifying time. So I was like, well, we ticked a box because now I'm eligible to be selected. You have to be top 2, otherwise you're not going to be picked anyway. And no one had the qualifying time, only one of the girls. So we knew what we had to do, and then you just tick a box and go, right, I've done that. Next box was right. Now they were like, you've got to beat everyone else. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, tick box. And then I went there and was like, oh, I'll just run the fastest anyone's ever run ever again. And then they were like, they have to pick you now. And I was like, okay, cool. Like,
no choice. Actually, so talking about the record, when you broke that, so I guess you probably weren't expecting, from what you're saying, you probably weren't expecting to do that. And is that something that you dreamt of? And after you did it, like, did it sink in that like no other British female athlete has ever run 100 meters that fast before?
Yeah, no.
And when you think of it like that,
yeah. Well, I said to him when he told me that on the day when I got there, I was in ridiculous shape. I'm never gonna lie, I was in ridiculous shape. I was running fast week in, week out, like at least my second, third fastest times ever. I was really in good shape. My PB was 11:28 from the year before, and I knew I was in great. And I'd run 11:27. It was just there. And in training, I'd done what we call a flying 100, which is basically a 100-meter flying run. So it was off a 10-meter roll, and on the clocks I'd run 10:49. on the clock.
Jeez.
So I remember, I didn't know, I'd started with like 11 seconds, like it was like 11:0,
Yeah.
and it was like 10:8, and it was 10:6, and then suddenly I'd, you know, winked 10:49, 10:55, and he was like, my coach came up to me and was like, you can run 10:9 off that. And I was like, what? I was like, really? He was like, yeah, of course you can. He was like, you can run 10:9 off that, which he was right. And so we knew what our shape was, but it's always about, are you going to do it? Because it's all very well you've been in shape, but can you execute? And because it was all or nothing on that day, I literally said to myself, you're just going to have to, you've done it every year of your life now. Just do your best. Because like you said, you can't control anything else. I can't control what she's doing in lane 2. It doesn't matter. It only matters what I can do. And I was like, literally, this is like the best advice, tip you'll ever get in your life. I stood on the line and I forgot all my years of training. And I said, run to that line as fast as you can.
Nice.
That was the only...
You know what? That was it.
That was my only cue. My cue, they're like, how did you do it? I'm like, I'm going to tell you, but you're going to laugh. And I just said to myself, run to that line as fast as you can. And so I crossed the line and my heat was 10:95. And I didn't even realise, because you don't see 10. I've never seen 10. I'm like, 10:95. So I thought something was wrong. I was like, what? The girls ran up to me afterwards because they were coming behind me and they were like, Monty, did you see the time? Did you see the time? And I was like, yeah, but it's probably going to be like +5. I don't know. Like, surely, I don't know. And then the tannoy, the guys, like the commentators, like, announcer says, oh, it's +2.5. And I was like, that is marginal wind. I'm like, I just ran 10:9 with like a little breeze. Yeah. And my coach came up to me and he shook my hand. He's probably East London, and he goes to me, well done, Miss Douglas. You're the first British woman to ever run sub-11, regardless of conditions. And I said to him, you're joking. I said, no way. And he said, no one's ever done that before. I said, you know, he's got multiple Olympians, he's got medalists within our crew. And I was like, are you joking? Because I was like, how have I done that? I was like, nah. Because you're looking at it from you, you're like, I did that. I wasn't even trying to do that. I wasn't going in going...
It's so difficult to relate yourself to that moment when you hear it. Like, it would be so hard.
You can't, because I was like, me. And he goes, don't be silly. And he was just like, you just got to do that again. And I went, oh, I could do that again. I was like, that was because I just thought it was easy. So I was like, what? No one's done that before. I was like, there's people better than me. And surely from before. So I just went in, and that's when I ran 11:05, British record, dropped down. I was just emotional because I was like, I finished my degree, I've made it, I'm going to Olympics. I was like, oh my gosh. And he ran up to me and he was like, Monty, we did it. And I'm like, we actually did. We've actually done this. And just to nail in my head, like, you are, Britain's fastest female. I was just like, how have I done that? And I looked back, honestly, every year from when I was 10 and I did that first race, I just taught myself that to do my best at any moment. Because it takes the pressure of you being better than anyone else. It doesn't matter. I just wanted to do what I can do. So I said, if my best happens to be the best ever, then so be it. And that's what happens. You just try your best, and then so happens that no one had ever done that. And it takes away then your limits as well. You don't limit yourself because you're not comparing yourself to anything. You're just trying to do whatever you can do. There's no ceiling.
Yeah. No, for sure. And like, the only competition you should ever have is with yourself, because that's relative, like you could be beating everyone, but if you're running what's bad for you, it doesn't matter if you're coming first. And like athlete, like you can lose a game or you can come last, but you run a PB, you'd be buzzing, like obviously, okay, it's nice to win, but no athlete is happy with a lackluster performance, are they? And I think it's so important to always remember that. And if you say, if I did my best, it takes the pressure off it, doesn't it? Because if you do your best and you don't care about where you come, your best will always be the top end of your limit. But if you come away and you think that wasn't my best, that's the stuff athlete you can't live with. Yeah,
you can't. That.
Exactly. Like, you'll be like, oh, that was my chance and I didn't give it everything because I was so focused on X, Y, Z or beating that person or what they were doing. It's really hard to stay in your lane.
Yeah, you're honestly 100%. I'm just like thinking about it, like what you're saying, it just brings me back to being in an environment where you got eyes on you. Like when I went to Europeans, I didn't even know I was favourite going into the final because I was so zoned. I didn't worry about anyone else, and I only realised because of people watching me warm up. So we were in the cool area in the track, and I was warming up for the final. There's only 8 girls left, obviously, because you've had rounds. And I'm looking and I'm like, why does everyone keep staring at me? And I don't like when people stare as it is. And I could see they were just watching me drill. They were doing side eyes. And I didn't realise because I was favourite going in. I'd worked I was 14th going in. So, and now I'd run PB in the heat, PB in the semi, and run fast. And they were like, oh gosh, she's the winner. I hadn't got a clue because I was just in my zone. My coach was like, right, you just did that. Next round, he goes, just run to the line. And I ran 11:28. And then suddenly I was like, oh my gosh, is it legal? And he was like, of course it's legal. And I was like, I'm British #1. But I came in here not even ranked anywhere. But like you said, focusing on just what you've got to do and knowing that you've done your best, there's no better feeling than that.
So how do you do that then? Like, do you reckon it was maybe easier then because like there was like less media attention now, like social media, like nothing goes unknown, and there's stuff everywhere and you can't escape it. But like, how do you just go, I'm gonna focus on me?
Number one, honestly, without being crap, you cannot care. You have to. I said to I coach some athletes now, and I said to them, you guys are so afraid of losing. It will not allow you to win, period. Until you can lose and get, beat, like you have to we call it taking licks in athletics. So sometimes, you won't be in shape. You'll get people that are not better than you, that are just, maybe they're super in shape and you're right at the bottom, that you've been injured and maybe you're just climbing your way up. Now they'll be beating you week in, week out. You have to take licks and go, oh my gosh, this person's beating me and I'm way better than them. But if you have to not care, you've got to be in the moment. Go, you know what? I am willing to lose right now. Like, that's how much this is going to be. I'm willing to get it wrong. That's the only way you can get it right. Because if you're so consumed with not making a mistake, the mistakes just fall out of you, just like drip, drop everywhere. And until you say, actually, no one actually really cares. Like, we so centralize ourselves, like, oh, we're on our own world. Like, get out of your own way. Do you know what I mean? It's in your head. No one cares. No one's watching you. You feel like all eyes is on you all the time. But it's actually, in reality, it's not true because you are quickly forgotten. The moment you fall off the ladder, no one's going to care about you. And you have to understand that you're good for that moment in time. So why would you bother put so much energy, wasting time on people that aren't going to care about you if you get injured next week? They're not going to be bothered. So you have to be willing to fail multiple times in order for you to win and not care. And you have to be willing in that moment in time to get it wrong. Because the only time that you can go, right, I'm going to do everything to get it right now. Because it might not go to plan, but I'm going to do everything in my power to do it and not worry about the outcome. Because the only reason why we get so frightened is because we worry about the outcome. Mm. And as soon as you realise that no one's not going to love you, my mum's not going to not love you less. No, your friends aren't going to hate you if you lose. They're still going to be there. So you can't, prioritise what everyone else's expectations of you as opposed to yourself. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, no one cares as much as you will. So, exactly. Like, just do what's right for you in that moment. And I've heard people say stuff like, don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from.
Exactly.
And then you worry about it and you're like, oh, what if so-and-so thinks this? And it's like, well, then so-and-so is going to think something else next week.
Exactly.
We've, like, every sport has their drama. And my coach at Wasps, her famous phrase is, this week's newspaper headline is next week's fish and chip paper. So, like, it's big now and everyone's going to go, oh my God. And the next week they'd eat off it and they wouldn't look twice, It
means nothing, mate.
Yeah, for sure. So you've got to just stay in the zone and don't search your name on Twitter.
No. Oh yeah, don't do that. You'd be trending. Someone wrote this on Twitter 2 days yesterday, and I looked, and I think it was James Blunt, and he wrote, "I hope I'm not dead," because he screenshotted his he was trending, James Blunt, and I think it was James Blunt, and he said, "I hope I'm not dead," because he's like, why am I trending? And I'm like, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, never good news. Okay, so now this is juicy. So you're saying about it was at Europeans when people were like watching you warm up and stuff, and you get a bit side eye. So 100 meters, it's the world's favorite event. It's the Kim Kardashian of all events. That start line buzz, it must be like unreal. But what's the competition like? Because I know, like, you see at the end of the race, everyone hugs each other, but now you're out there to win, really. What's like? Do you get like dirty looks? Has anyone ever given you like shit chat on the start line? Who's like the bitch and who's actually like, nah, she's real?
Oh yeah. Oh, of course. You know what? It very much depends on the individual. So I'm not competitive. Like I said, I'm really competitive with myself. People go, oh, I'm super competitive. I'm like, no, I'm never competitive with you. I will never be competitive with an individual. I'd always be competitive with myself. I want to be the best that I can be. But not everyone is like that. Like, some people don't, they've got no integrity. They don't care if you've got one limb, whatever. As long as they beat you, they're like, haha, whatever. And because of the nature of the event, like being an athlete, being a sprinter in particular, it's a power event, it's a bit more bravado. There is that kind of, and it might be just personality, because you need that personality to do well in that sport kind of thing. It's like that fits well. But you know, you said that there are this girls, it's bitchy, it can be bitchy. I'm not like that, so I just be like, I hug people, say well done, because when we're on a start line, like, I'm not like, oh, it's me against you, you beat me. I'm like, you ran better. But it's not like you beat me, although you did. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, it's competitive. You want to win, but you don't have any influence on that. It's not like you could hold anyone back from doing it. We had one athlete that used to spit in people's lanes. No joke. Yeah, so she did it. She did it. So she would walk back, and to be fair, I started doing it, but I only forgot. I'll tell you what. So I would drink water, and you don't want water, like when you, obviously, power to weight's really important, so you don't want to fill yourself up. So when it gets closer to the race, generally I'd put water in, but I'd always spit it out. So I'd go to the grass and I'd spit out. Sometimes there's no grass, you're on the start line now, you're taking off your kit, you're there. So I take a swig of water, but I don't want to spit in my lane, that would be stupid. And it'd be the back, it wouldn't be where they're going to run, but it would be behind them in their lane. So you just spit my water out of the lane, right? But I know some people would be like, did you just spit in my lane? I'm like, I'm not spitting in my lane. But I know people that used to spit in people's lanes, like right where they go, oh, it's there, they just go like spit. And that, obviously, now your attention's on them. That's the mind games. They're playing mind games. We've had athletes that used to do semi-full starts. They used to play mind games. One time I didn't even drive out my blocks, because she always does it. One athlete always did full starts, just to get everyone to psych out, because everyone's on edge. And before it was one full start, it was, you could have two. So it wasn't just like one person and everyone's out. It was like individuals. So she would do a full start. One time I didn't even, he was like, set, go. I just didn't even react, because I knew she was going to do it. She did a full start, pulled it back. I was like, yeah, mind games, because now everyone sits back and goes, well, now we've got to be more tentative, and it gives them an advantage to go. There was honestly so much stuff that people do, not saying well done, thanks. I would always hug, shake your hand at the end, because I don't have that personality where I'm not, it doesn't mean that much to me in the sense of that. I don't feel targeted or attacked. It's not personal for me. This is a sport, and in the realm of sport, it is.
Because it's like, it's a sport, like, obviously you're all in the same race together, but you will physically never touch or affect anybody else in that race. It's kind of weird that, like, obviously football, tennis, hockey, netball, like you directly impact each other's performances, but like you physically cannot do that, but you kind of can if, like, you're beating someone, or like the start line, like you can let it get in your head.
Oh, for sure. Even in the call room, it happens before you even get to the track, because you're in the call room with the same people that you're going to race with.
Some people like 20 minutes the space, like spread over like all of it, and like
they don't want you to touch it.
Hoggers.
Some people don't want to sit next to each other. Some people, you know what I mean, you put your stuff there, or your bags next to your seats, they can't sit there. Then someone's got to be like, can you move your bag, please? Kind of, do you know what I mean? Yeah, really passive aggressive stuff, like standing up, moving stuff. I'm like, I ain't saying that. Listen, I'll move your bag. Because you know what you're doing. You left it there so that you did that on purpose. Like, I wouldn't put my bag there unless I wanted it to be moved, because it's going to be moved. They need to sit down. There's only 8 chairs. They don't give you multiple chairs. They give you 8 for the individuals. So if you've taken one, someone's got to use it.
There's so much depth to, like, sprinting, like you say, is also just, I'm gonna start here and I'm gonna run to that line as quick as I can. But also chair gate. Where'd you put your bag? That's another level.
I lie on the floor. How about that? I lie on the floor and I put my feet on my chair.
Across 3 lane.
Yeah. I'm like this. You can have it. I was like, I don't need it. I put my legs and just stop. There's mind games, because some girls don't talk to each other as well. Now, I don't mind talking to people in the call room. I'm not like sitting there like breathing. Some people are really intense. That's just what they're like. That's fine. Some people talk to others because it throws them off their game. So another girl used to do that. Always sit with people because she showed that she wasn't threatened by you, so she'd be talking to you. That happens. Yeah, when you're younger, it would be like, what's your PB? What's your PB? You know, what's your PB? People would lie. They'd be like, oh, I ran 11. I'm like, she doesn't run 11.7, whatever.
I ran it in 8 seconds.
Yeah, I'm like, good luck. You're in the wrong race, because I don't know what race that is. The 60 meters is indoors.
60.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, it's indoors.
I was on a bike and it was downhill, but anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens a lot. All that stuff happens.
Okay, so like obviously you've got your mind games on like game day, race day, whatever. But Olympic Village, when everyone's a bit more relaxed, Beijing 2008, that must have been like unreal. But what was like the craziest, most surreal thing you either saw or like you heard? Because like you hear so much shit about
Oh
the
gosh,
Olympic
yeah.
Village, like the fact they were like handing out condoms on site, and then there was like a McDonald's on site. Like,
Yeah.
give us the juice. I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, what is the craziest thing? Oh gosh, this thing. I mean, if it was crazy enough, I probably couldn't say it. To be honest, that's what I'm like, oh, I don't know if I could say that. Yeah, I mean, it's the Olympic Village. Stuff goes down. You have like, I did a talk with my friend the other day, and she mentioned it. She won a bronze medal at those games in the hurdles, in the 4 hurdles, and she was saying, look, they put together, you know, the cream of the crop in all sports, pretty much in the world, together in this little bubble. I'm like, stuff's gonna go down. Like, it's just like you've got the best of the best there, and I guess, I mean, essentially depending on how much time you've got. But what's great is that you are amongst people of like-minded individuals. Everyone's a different journey as well. You've got people that have been to 3 games, 2 games. Sometimes it's their first Olympic Games. I remember seeing like Usain Bolt, for example, because that was his first. I believe that was his first game.
Yeah, that was when he made the big time, wasn't it?
Yes, that was his first kind of introduction. Like, hey world, this is me, and he would just be like bobbing into the canteen with his new headphones on, singing, dancing to himself like this. You know what I mean? He's like 21 years old, just looking like a bit of a lunatic, and everyone's a bit like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? But you never experienced something like that. You would never see like he's triple world record holder. Everything, arguably one of the best athletes of all time, best fit of all time. You would never get to experience that. But you know, the crazy, I guess, the crazy happens usually after the games. That's pretty much it. We didn't get any crazy. We just got to go and see the Wall of China because we have to go home because it's right at the end of the games. That, you know how all the events are situated. Yeah, so we didn't get to go to the opening ceremony because we weren't in the village yet. We weren't actually there, so we didn't, because we start too soon. Then we got to go to closing party because obviously they were handing over to 2012, so we were like Focus Nation as well because they had Leona Lewis was there, Dave Beckham was there was a big red bus. It was just like all of us together. It was a bit weird.
I remember watching that
and surreal. Yeah, so we were all on the track there, so crazy stuff like that. But in terms of the the stuff that cannot be said, that stuff can definitely not be said.
It happens.
Yeah,
so it does happen.
Stuff happens.
Stuff happens. So that was 2008. So they're probably going to be some like freakish athletes coming out in about 20 years post that.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
What sport were the loosest then?
Oh, like, I don't.
Were like fencers like actually like mad?
I don't know.
What were athletes?
I actually don't know. I don't know what I would say swimmers, but I feel like swimmers would be bad. But you know what? It depends on, like you said, the culture of the sport as well, because athletes generally stick with athletes. Like track and field is quite, because we don't ever see other sports. So it's like, oh wow, other sports. I can see that Kobe was there, so on. You see different people you wouldn't see before and stuff. So you're a bit kind of like not overwhelmed, but you're taking in this ridiculous. Plus, it's like you said, there's a McDonald's in the canteen. I've never seen a McDonald's that's free, just there. You can just walk up to it and be like, "Can I have 3 cheeseburgers, please?" They just give them to you and you walk away.
Oh, that's but like, also like torture because you're probably trying to eat well during the.
We were, because by that you've got to be careful. Some people obviously aren't, and they just get a bit. You've got to be disciplined, but then after obviously you can have whatever you want. But there's food from all over the world as well. It wasn't just like every nation of the world, the food was there. It was continental, everything. So that again is a bit like, oh gosh, just have a little bit, just be disciplined.
World buffet level.
Yeah, literally.
Everything.
It was beautiful.
Okay, so is there any like individual who's had like a massive influence on your athletics career and then later on your bobsleigh career? Is there someone who you'd be like, you know what, I could not have achieved any of what I've achieved without that one person?
There's many people, to be honest, but definitely I know my first coach for sure, Rayter now.
The guy who handed you over?
My club, yes, for sure, because number one, coaches don't hand people over. That he has got the national ranked. I am national champion for the 100 and 200 meters as a 16-year-old. That no one in this country right now would ever do that. They're not going to give you away and say, I feel like I've done my best. I'm going to give you to someone I feel where you can go. And then essentially, I made senior debut. I was top junior. He got me to Olympic Games. He actually he got me that. My coach then fulfilled that. No one's going to do that. And if it hadn't been for him, like, on top of that, he also, because where I was from Catford in Lewisham, so my house was there and my school was in Bromley, so that's like an hour and a half on a bus, 2 hours on a bus just to travel there. Now he gave me opportunity, he would take me home, he'd look after me, do you know what I mean? Give me opportunity to do that because my parents working and stuff. I wouldn't be able to be in those positions and go to the events, go to competitions. He was able to do it for me, and I definitely, I don't know where I would have been actually in those crucial years between being a teenager to being a senior. I don't know how it would have panned out had he not given me to. Bearing in mind, when I went into my group, we already had at 2002, so Sydney Games, Donna Fraser, who's like my hugest inspiration for track and field, already going full for the Olympic Games. Like, you've got world indoor medalists. The group was a super group to me. I was just this kid, like, oh my gosh. And it's a super group. So I'm going into an environment that taught me how to be an athlete. Like, not to be tired, like when you're broken, not lying on the floor, just be like, to like walk it off. I got taught those things as a 16-year-old because I hadn't trained at that level. I was training 2 times, 3 times max a week. I went up to 6 days a week training into this group. Completely different environment. But that taught me how to be the athlete that I became.
Yeah. And so would you say, like, training with someone like Donna Fraser gave you that, like, female athlete role model that you'd never had on TV, like, because they weren't there? And like, unfortunately, the female athletes, like, it's really hard to have those aspirations to be a professional athlete because you can't see it.
No.
And until you get into that environment, which is normally when you're quite far down your line in your journey, you go, oh, there are these role models here. They're just really hard to find.
Yeah, exactly. She definitely, honestly, she taught me so much being an athlete because we were really close and stuff. We'd go to hills together. Like, I'd go to hills with her, she'd take me home, I'd be asleep in the car. Like, learning things about, how, just the mindset, because the athlete mindset is a thing. It's definitely different than to anything else. It can be, and it's transactional. You can use it in different walks of life. It really is about, it's almost like business minded in a different way. So just being able to tap into that when you're a kid, you don't know none of that. You need to learn that stuff. They're skills. They're things you've got to develop. Resilience is things that you can build. You can actually work on that. But someone who had multiple like surgeries, who had that, I learned those things like, wow, this is how you rehab. This is how you get back. This is how you keep your mind on. You don't stop training. Those things are invaluable. If I hadn't have got those things, then I don't know, where I would have been. And she definitely, number one, will always be. She's four-time Olympian, 16 years of competition. She's battled cancer and come back and been an Olympic game. It's just insane the things that you have to go through, that she's been through, that I look at and go, wow, like, you can always find a way. And she definitely taught me that you can always find a way.
And with your sport being an individual sport, you've got to seek out these teammates and these role models. Like, in team sports, you're constantly surrounded with 10, 15 other people who are on the same journey as you. But as in an individual athlete, you've got to find them yourselves, and you got to like curate your little team, your little mates around you, so that you've got people who can bring you up and bring you down and keep you on track, or you can model, okay, this is how you're rehabbing, maybe I should do a bit of that, because it's so hard doing. I couldn't imagine being in a sport where you can't just ask your mate, oh, what did you do about your ankle? What did you do about your shoulder?
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
How do you rehab? Like, it's.
You don't know what to do. You learn those things, definitely. And even training together, we'd have different strengths in training. So she was 200, 400 runner. But I could obviously get out on her by a long shot. Like, I would do almost like a paced run, and it would be them not flat out. But we would work for each other. So I knew that if I didn't get out on a run, she was coming for me. And there was multiple times where I would joke around and banter her out in training, because I'd be like, gosh, I could just hear you coming and her legs were coming. And one time I remember we crossing the line exactly the same time. But we used each other in training. We had that friendship, and we also had that camaraderie in training to actually, well, you're good at this, so I'm going to try and get better at this because that's not your strong point, and vice versa. And that's how you bounce off each other. And that teaches you a lot as well moving forward.
Yeah, like teamwork and like communication skills, all of that. What were you saying about business? You can definitely tell athletes, well, when you're in the workplace, you can definitely tell people who are sporty, because they've just got that competitive edge, or like never give up mindset. Oh, this can be better, that can be better. And the way you communicate within a team is just, they're not afraid to say their opinion, but then also take criticism as well. And there's just so many transferable skills. Talking about transferable skills, being fast. So going from Sorry, being fast, not something I can actually relate to, but I can imagine it's good. If you're going from sprinting to bobsleigh in 2016, and then within a year you're finishing top 10 in the world, how did you manage that transfer to perform at such a high level in such a short distance? And then, like, how did that come about?
So I think good thing, I had obviously good people around me. And I think one of the things that definitely helped me was actually just coming from athletics. I learned very quickly that for me, athletics is one of the most professional sports in the world. I know it's still an amateur sport, weirdly, but track and field amateur athletics. But the way the structure is in terms of some, for example, just Britain alone, in terms of the governing body and the structure of competitions, it's a different level of understanding. And when you go in, you try and compete at that level. Whereas bobsleigh is very much an army services sport. It's very much a services sport that got developed into this world. So I went in with the kind of mindset that I'm going to go into elite sport. And I was like, wow, this is completely different in terms of the way it's applied, the way that it's so different. And I just felt like it was very much a services sport in an elite world, in an elite sporting world. And it wasn't really hitting those things. So just having the skills that I had from track helped massively, because how you train, how you apply things, how you learn things, how you acquire information. If you're not an athlete, you don't really actually have those skills. Even if you just get told what to do and you just do that. Whereas I was like, hang on a second, I realised quickly, you've got to be fast on the start here, because if you ain't going anywhere. Like you're not going to be anywhere in the world. And I wasn't used to not being good. I wasn't used to not being at the top. So it's kind of like, right, how do we get better? How do we get better? And you start looking at those things, like how do we, with where we are, where we want to get to, and then bridge the gap. And like you said, that's something that gets built inside of you as an athlete. Like you said, the hunger to achieve, the will to win, those things that you actually want to go and get something. For me, it was calm, because I feel like I'm quite, like I said, I'm quite laid back in the sense that I like adrenaline junkie. I love speed anyway. I love the sport. I love the fact that we like work on the sled ourselves. I love that it was a team sport. Now I've been doing an individual sport for 10, 15 years. Suddenly now there's teammates involved, completely different environment. And I loved it because that was something new for me. I loved the new challenge as well. So that was something that kind of got me out of my staleness. When you get a bit stale, I think a change is good as any.
Do you think that's why you wanted to transfer? Because obviously, like, you'd been to the Commonwealth Games in 2010, and then did you want to, was that in your mind of like, well, I want to go to an Olympics again? If running is now becoming a bit stale for me, like, can I do that somewhere else? Is that the reason?
It wasn't originally, because I didn't even know about it. So I was semi-recruited in the sense that I was asked to come and try out in 2013, actually, after 2013 season, 2014 season. I was asked, by one of the coaches, because he used to be in athletics. He used to be one of the head coaches in athletics. He was like, come and join bobsleigh. And I'm like, what on earth is what is bobsleigh? Didn't know we had a team, didn't know we trained, didn't know anything. So I was kind of, I changed coaches then. So I was like, nah, I'm still trying to do this. I'm actually still trying to do this, and I feel like I can still do it. So let me just do it. And I got in really good shape, was running well, didn't get selected for Europeans and Commonwealth. I think it was 2014. And I think I ran 11.3 that year. And I was just like, I'm running all right. Like, and I'm not in the teams still. Because you've got, the sport moves on, you've got up there. And I was like, you know what? I'm still in good shape. They've asked me to join, I might as well try it. Because I'm never one to really say no. I'd only said no because it wasn't the right time. And I said, you know what, I've just changed coaches. I can't then go, by the way, I'm going bobsleigh. Like deuces. I said, let me give it a go. And I did really, so I transferred over, did really well, transferred over to 2016, 17. And I still wanted to, because I was still going to do track alongside. But obviously that quickly went downhill when I tore my hamstring off the bone. And my body went, you can't do both, because that it's too much. It was just too much. You're competing all year round. I couldn't do that after. I joined when I was 31 as well. So I'm like, I need more recovery. I've been training for 20 years. No, let me focus on one and stuff. So for me, transfer was good because it gave me so much new opportunities. I also then was funded again. I hadn't been funded for how many years? They took my funding in 2010 after winning the Commonwealth Gold. Even up to 2012, didn't have any funding. It's like, so I was living off my savings from before, then I was running fast. I went to America, I went on a game show.
Oh, you won an Olympic you won a Commonwealth gold medal.
Yeah.
And then they went, nah, we're not going to give any.
Yeah, they went, we don't care. We don't think it's good enough still.
Sorry, but is that just not bullshit?
Yeah, total. Yes, it is. because essentially that was the demise of us not being able to go and qualify well for the London Games, because it was home games. How can you pull the home team's funding?
So do you reckon that that directly affected?
Absolutely directly affected, because what happened was there's no relay. I'd come back from surgery anyway. I had surgery that year. I really didn't even need to run. I wasn't walking in February, March of that year. They said, you're not going to be going anywhere. So I worked my butt off to get back on the team anyway, made the team. I was getting told by physios still not to go. They were telling me to turn down my place because I'd got back so quickly. My body was obviously not as conditioned on one side. They were like, you're running on one leg. And I'm like, well, I'm running 11.4. So it's not slow. So I'm going to do it. And I went there, won a gold medal, and they were like, we don't care, we're taking your funding. And we're like, no one was funded. So then we didn't have any relay opportunities up until the games. So we're literally on the deadline, the day before the deadline, when you've got to be in top 16 in the world to qualify. We run at Europeans. We qualify, we're 16th in the world. We're like, oh, we've qualified. And then they say, we're having a BBC interview. We're standing there, right there in the camera. And they're telling us we've been disqualified because one of the girls stepped on the line. So now we don't have an opportunity to qualify for our home games. I've got girls crying in the warm area, cool down afters. Because they didn't realise that was our last opportunity. And I'm like, I said, no, we haven't got. That's it. That's it. We can't go to the games if we don't race either tomorrow, which was the last day. It was Sunday. There was no races. We don't go to the games, and essentially that's what happened. And then the issue with individuals, there's no relay fund. There was no relay team for the girls, but one of the girls got, because they were just about okay. And that annoyed me even more because I came third at trials by 200. They didn't allow me to run again or something in the race, which was annoying because then I had to relay and then we got shafted for that. It was just an absolute mess. Honestly, it was, without being bitter, I'm not bitter about it, but it was a mess. That would never happen now. It's ludicrous. You set us up for failure. You didn't want us to win. You didn't care about us. And then that's what happened. And then it's hard.
So when you say they, like who do you mean by that? Like, is it the governing body?
Governing body, yeah, the governing body. We're like, oh, we're putting your funding. Head coach was been asked a bit of work. So yeah, just didn't care, ruthless. And to me, now looking back, I was just like, wow, this makes no sense. You would never pull funding from a nation 2 years from their home Olympic Games. It would never happen.
I mean, like you say that, but in the England Sevens team got all of their funding cut. Rugby Sevens got all their funding cut last year. It was a year out from the Olympics, and they were full-time professional athletes, and then a year away from the Olympics, they've cut all their funding, and they were full-time team. That's a team sport. You can't just train by yourself. That's a team sport, and they took it away a year before, and then in the last 6 months they just got some lottery funding, and they've had to now prepare for an Olympics off of 4 months of training as a team when they could have had a 4-year build up. And it's just like, it's that cycle then. Like, you don't fund them to train, then they perform badly, and then they go, well, you've performed badly, so we're not going to fund you. It's like, well, do you not realize you don't just turn up to an Olympics and win gold? Like, there's a reason. It's a 4-year cycle for a reason,
Yeah, exactly.
And it kills me when it's governing bodies who it's their best interests. Their athletes are their only asset, right?
Exactly.
And then they take away your funding, or they make it difficult for you, or there's policy in place that literally makes no fucking sense.
No.
And it's like, why are you not just, like, as simple as you put it, you got to run from A to B. How do we make this? Take away the hurdles, literally.
Yeah.
How do you make that easy?
Literally.
And it baffles me that sometimes governing bodies sometimes get in the way of athletes at their sport, and that they're trying to please XYZ other people who, at the end of the day, are they running the race? No.
Exactly. So, you need to look after us. That's it.
Yeah. That absolutely kills me. And the fact that it takes away people's dreams, it's like you don't realise that's someone's entire life, and your business decision in your boardroom of people who literally have no idea what it's like has affected someone's entire career. It kills me. Anyway, so not to be negative, but that's how it is. So when you're going down this ice track, what is going through your mind? Like, are you performance focused? Are you thinking, right, run, get in, and you're totally in the game? You're thinking about the corners and when you've got a break, etc. Or are you taking in the thrill of it because it's still quite new? So you're like, oh, this is sick. Or are you just like, I am absolutely shitting myself?
Yeah, it's a combination of all, to be honest. You definitely still shit yourself. I'm not even going to lie. You do. You can't not. And it depends on the track. Because you could be doing it. I was doing it, 3 years in, and hadn't been to the fastest track in the world. I went to Whistler, Canada, for the first time. I think it was 2018. And we were going from what we call Diamond Start, which is a ladies start, which is essentially halfway down the track. It's like a training when you do training runs, because obviously it makes it slower the lower you start down. But this thing was still rapid fast. I literally said to her at the top when we got down the bottom, I went, "You telling me we've got to run off the top of here?" And that is what I felt going halfway down. I said to her, I don't know if I want to do that. I actually don't know how I'm going to run the top of this mountain fast in X amount of weeks for World Championships. It was scary because it was so fast, and I was just like, this is awful. I hate it. I was like, I hate it. It's too fast. I can't. There's not a moment to think or even think what's going on. Like, I love speed, but it's like being a controlled car crash. To be honest, that's what it feels like.
A controlled car crash.
Yeah,
they're selling that.
That's literally what it's like. I couldn't explain it any better than that, because it's not smooth. It's rough. You're getting thrown. There's a lot of G-force. You know what I mean? 5, 6 Gs on your back. Your spine is getting compressed and folded into two. Like, your head, if you didn't touch your knees at the beginning of the season, it's touching your knees by the end, because there's so much pressure. It forces you into flexibility. You can't not have it. But now, depending on the tracks and where we are, I'm very always performance focused, because you've got a job to do. The first part is the only part I've got to focus on immediately. So I'm kind of like in the zone of what I'm going to do, getting ready, getting warmed up. I'm focused on being on the block, the timing of the block, making sure that when I go and do it, I'm executing what I want to do. That's it. And then I'm jumping in and closing my eyes, to be honest, all the way down. I very rarely my eyes are open. That's it. Some of the tracks now, I've done so much. I know the tracks. I know, it's left turn, it's right turn. I can even tell actually my driver now. It's funny when she does something wrong or she's done something different, because she'll go to me. I meant, you tapped on the left. I was like, she's like, oh yeah, that was out 14. I was like, she was like, or she'll go to me, Mon, did I tap on thing 7? And I was like, you definitely tapped out 16. I was like, because we weren't doing that before, and I don't know why there was a hit on the right when there's no right turn. Like, it was just, I'm like, because I can feel it. Like, there'll be hits, slaps. When we come off a thing, I'm getting whipped off. So if I know the track, I'm kind of know where I am. I'm like, oh, that wasn't right. Or we're skidding down when you're going sideways and you're literally like that. I'm like, why am I going sideways? Oh no.
In anyone's world, that's not going to feel right.
It's not good. It's not a good look. Or the worst part is when it goes silent, because that's when you know you're airborne. So if it's ever quiet in there for a split second, you know, oh, we're off the ice. Cool, great. Bam! And then it's like a big.
You just wait for the impact.
Yeah, you just got to brace, wait for the impact, and go on. But yeah, it's a combination of all. It's a performance. It's definitely a bit of fear. You need the adrenaline, because that all stops any pains that you got anyway. But also, it's fun. You know, if you love speed, you would enjoy it.
Yeah, I like medium speed. You know, like not hurtling to my potential death kind of speed.
I know. Well, I've been told my only question was when we joined. I was actually at the top, Winterberg in Germany, first training run, and I said to the coach at the time, "Can I die doing this?" And he went to me, "Nah, you'd be fine." So I went, "Okay, cool," because that was my only question. Can I die?
I think he's having you on.
If he says no, I'm down. I'm like, no one died from this, because sometimes you're like, you can get seriously hurt. I'm not even gonna lie. Every time you go down, we take it for granted that you can be seriously hurt doing bobsleigh, because its impact is fast. It doesn't take a lot, to make mistakes. It's fine tuned, but that's why you need a lot of trust. That's why you need to be sensible. You need to be smart. All those kinds of things. You can't just play with your life like that. It's not, and your body, because health is wealth. At the end of the day,
health is 100% wealth, and so are helmets, I can imagine.
Yeah, I changed, but I've got like 7. I'm like, well, I've got so many helmets. Oh yeah, because I don't like to wear the same one. That's it, it's done now. After season's gone, I'm like, that's it, new helmet.
Oh my god. Okay, so what are your goals with bobsleigh in the next couple of years?
Medal. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not even being afraid to say it. Yeah, medal at the games. Yeah, that's what I think we could go for. I mean, they did really well last time at the games, and I feel like you should always look to do better and aspire and push on. And I feel like where we are now, where we've been, it's definitely built to a place where why wouldn't you contend for a medal? At the Olympic Games, people always look at where they are right now, like 10 months away, 9 months away, 8 months, and go, oh, I'm so far away. And I'm like, look, when you get to the games and start line, it's winner takes all. There's no anything. You can come in absolute dog shit at the back all year. One of the girls who won she didn't win anything. She never won any race at all ever. Like, she didn't win a race. She went to the Olympic Games and won the Olympic Games. And then the next year, she didn't lose a race. She won every race. So that shows how much like mindset, and how when you like once you're in it, you just got to just give your all, and you never know what's going to happen. Because at the end of the day, it's everyone's game. And so we've set targets. I'm like, look, if we can start well, there's always potential. And my only goal for me is to make the team, because essentially I'm not a driver, so the driver's always going to be there. The brakewoman can be whoever, and I've been there in a games reserve on my own, and been experiencing it but not competed. So that's my goal, is to be behind the sled, and then I'm going to do my absolute best to get a medal. But I know that to do that, we have you have to start top 3, 4 in the world. The only way you're going to best do that. And we're like 10, 11 right now, and I feel like that we're looking at 10th and a half in terms of time to make up for. We push a 10th and a half in there, that's a medal. And imagine, it's not a lot. You think a 10th and a half of a second is like, it's so minuscule, but to get that out, it takes a lot of work.
And also, like, all it takes, one person has a bad race, they clip something, like you say, it doesn't matter what ranking you go in, when you're crossing that line, it doesn't come with, oh, they're the best in the world, let's move them up. Like, you cross the line, like, that's all it is. It's 2 people and a sled going down a track. Like, that's exactly. So anything can happen on game day, race day. Sorry. So yeah, like, and especially with a sport that's so on the edge, on the margins, like one person makes one mistake that changes their time by like huge margins, and then suddenly someone slipped in ahead and literally slipped in ahead, and then you never know. And I kind of love that.
Yeah.
Like that.
And things like championships are different, because people forget that you have to be consistent at championships. The Olympic Games is 4 consecutive runs. You have to have 4 consistent runs down the track over 2 days. It's not just like a normal World Cup race where you're running twice that day and then that's it. Bob's your uncle, go home and watch your time. You've got to come back the next day and perform again and have consistent runs and be at the level. So you can't be in like first and then do a 8th best run. And then, because then you're not coming in first anymore, you probably drop down to about 5th after that run. So now you're going into the final run 5th when you were first for 2 runs. It doesn't matter like what it only matters what you're doing right now and then. So you have to stay in the game. You have to stay consistent, and it's always about being consistent and being disciplined and working hard on what you can do right in that moment in time. And until it's done, until the 4th run is over, you always have a chance.
Yeah, I guess just next job, innit? Don't think about the whole thing. You've spoken before about the importance of athletes having a voice and using their platform for what they believe in, and you're currently part of the Women's Sports Trust Unlocked program for female athletes. What changes and influence are you passionate about, and what sort of changes would you love to be a part of?
So where do I start? For me, there is very much, obviously, certain things that would be passionate about me by experience alone. So black female in this sport, no, we're not even going to go into the racist card, but in terms of experiencing equal opportunities, being an opportunity to do that, and that's across the board in various sports. We, being in bobsleigh, we were told, they're told, oh, black people can't drive bobsleigh. Like, that's been said numerous times. It's been said to a world champion, things like that. I'm like, wowzer! Like, you're out here telling people that a race can't drive a bobsleigh.
How like being born? How can that affect your ability to do anything? Just it's
a mindset, because they're ignorant. Like, you have a mindset that certain type of person, from where their background, whatever, cannot do something, and you limit them straight away. Therefore, you don't provide opportunities to others to do that.
And if society always says you can't do it, then you're not going to get that. It's not going to fall on your lap. And sport sometimes is luck, and it's about where you're from. And if people always say you're from this, or you can and can't do that, and that's going to determine what you want to do, or even if they're not from there, but you have this predisposition that you think they're from there.
You can't. Therefore, you are. I think. Therefore, I am. Is what they said. If you think you can, or you think you can't, you're right. So for me, obviously being black female, even in bobsleigh, I've brought on people before. When I was hurt, I was brought one of the girls, black female, into the sport. Go and try. This is an opportunity for you to inspire others, because if they can't see it, there ain't one there. They're not going to even, it's not even in the realm. And women in general, obviously we get a bad rap, come on now, like, as it goes across the board. We're like, I think the biggest scam of all time is people convincing us that we are the inferior gender. Like, I'm like, wow, how did you manage to convince so many people that that's true? Because it's ludicrous. Like, women
Yeah.
are mad, powerful, strong. Like, we actually run a lot of stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Just kind of like the different skill sets we have to our male counterparts. They have strengths, we have strengths. And it's about people
Yeah.
working together and building each other up. And for me,
Yeah.
within bobsleigh and helping athletes that have kind of had, a bad time, I'm now not transitioning out, but I will be transitioning out of my sport. When you get left to the wayside as an athlete out of retirement, it is it's a horrible thing. Because what I'm seeing with friends that were ex-athletes, or I'm seeing across the board, I'm seeing in the media, with suicide rates skyrocketing with athletes that think, how can an athlete be at Olympic Games and then next minute they're retiring and they're thinking about ending their life? Like, that there's something wrong there. You cannot leave a whole generation of people that have actually serviced their country or service their sport in a way to impact the world in a better place. Because sport has the ability, let's face it, it's a vehicle to drive people together across the board, regardless where we're from, creed, colour, race, from economic background, anything. It doesn't matter where I come on board and I'm like, wow, we're now coming together because of what we do. How is it that people are suffering on the other spectrum? It's just not, like you said, fair, but it's about bridging the gap for me. And I'm like, how can I just impact the few people that are around me? And I'm really passionate about, I really want to get into coaching, because this whole being a female coach thing, obviously that irks me as well. Like, I want to be one of the best coaches in the world. I do one day, you know what I mean, in sport, to help other girls, especially as well, to know that they can do whatever they want to do, and no one's going to tell you that you can't. Because unless you tell yourself you can't, then you won't be able to.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I also think it's so important to have female coaches, not only to coach young women, but to coach young men as well. That if they've got a positive female role model in their life at a young age, they're far less likely to grow up and think, oh, women can't do this. If their role model was a woman growing up, you're never going to develop these thoughts, or oh, women are inferior, this person can or can't do that, because you've got such a diverse set of role models. And I actually think, yeah, it's great for young girls to look up and say, oh, I want to be like her. But I think it's actually even more important for young boys to look up and, for like you say, your role models when you were growing up were most of them men, so were mine. But imagine a young boy having their role model in sport being a female. Like, you couldn't imagine, it'd be crazy to think of, but it's not crazy to think that we would look at men to be a role model. So when you flip it around, it's like, oh, that's mad, but actually it's not, because we've all been doing it.
Exactly, yeah. This is how we roll all the time, and it's just like, it's set in, it's normal. And I'm like, how come it's not normal if I have 10 boys that I coach? I'm like, that's normal. Because I'm a coach, I'm gonna and you're right. They'll look at it and be like, wow, well, actually, my coach is sick. Like, my coach has taught me so much. She's been supportive. She's got me actually to run this and stuff, and she's a woman. That's completely different. My attitude towards women that they're gonna have now in sport, lifelong. These are lifelong habits and lifelong mindsets that they're gonna have.
For sure, and that's how you change society. You've got to look at both sides of that. Like, you don't really need to convince too many girls to be gender equal, because, like, we will be. But
definitely.
I'd be pretty hard pressed to find a woman who doesn't want equal rights. But like, to do that to young boys as well, especially from like all walks of life, because there's certain sectors where they just wouldn't even imagine being coached, just like in sport, by women. So it's like, oh, women don't do sport, and it's like, it's crazy. I think that's why it's also so important to have female coaches and role models, and to make sure that you're speaking out for that, because you just need to. So in terms of like your difficulties with like funding over the years, is that something that you would want to campaign for as well in women's sport, and trying to get more sponsors and commercial partners involved, and seeing like the excitement of women's sport, and like just getting more athletes over the line so that they can perform the best their ability by being paid?
Yeah, absolutely. What's happening now across sports, and being on the Unlocked program with Women's Sport Trust, honestly, has opened up my eyes actually to the new growth, which is great, because the cricket girls, same, she's got professional contracts, that there is things happening. There's a shift, which is lovely. It's about the consistency of the shift, which is what we want. We want to see it all the time and build it, so that actually, when you look at it, flip it on its head in 5, 6, 7 years' time, it looks completely different than it does even now, because of that growth already that's happened. And it's really opened my eyes up to saying, actually, we can campaign for stuff, because even then, before, knowing that you can say, hang on a second, that's not right, why are we not getting the same? We didn't, if you don't even know if you can do that. You didn't even feel that you were empowered enough to be able to say that that's not right. Whereas now it's like, well, actually, now I can say what I want, because It isn't right, and we do need more. We do want more. We deserve it across the board, like you said. It's not just about them and us. It's about everyone, and it's like the sports in general. Like our sport, bobsleigh, you know, we got absolutely nothing. Like there's no governing body. Like in terms of centralized program, you're trying to do those things, amazing and great, you know, amazing things with no structure involved. It's so difficult, but it's also, like you said, about us getting the skills. And me being on this program, for example, has given me so much of a network where you're learning so much from different athletes every day, all the time, different spaces, and how we can actually impact change, because that's essentially what we want to do. But we sometimes don't know how to navigate that. We're like, oh, I didn't know how to start. This definitely gives me a nice start of a platform to be like, okay, now we can start having a conversation.
Yeah, and like the directions, you have so much within you that you want to say, and your experience can be so unique and special. You just need to get leverage from that so you can actually make the changes, so no one has to be in, like, we want to learn from history. You don't want to be hearing in 5 years' time, or a relay team's had their funding cut, or a team has had their funding cut like a year out from an Olympics or whatever it is, because it would be even more painful to experience it and then see it happen again, because then it's almost like, well, your experience you didn't learn from it. It was pointless, you know. Like, it's okay to go through shit if you know that you're going to learn from it and then you can change it.
Exactly.
But then when someone else has it again, it's just like...
History repeating itself is a waste of time. I'm like, well, we've wasted our time. Everything is wasted. We need to move on. Move on means moving forward, not moving back. Because time will always go forward anyway. Time will always go on. But it's like, does it look different?
Yeah. And when the governing bodies just say nothing, but like silence is compliance. Like, if you say nothing, that's not like, oh, well, we just didn't do anything. It's like, no, like, you're agreeing with that. Whilst you're letting this happen, you're effectively agreeing with it. Like, standards you walk past, the standards you accept. So, like, I think governing bodies do need to be kept accountable for that, because they're all willing to take the success when you got the medals. But when you're like, I can't pay my bills, they're like, oh, what was that?
Exactly. Sorry? So we're breaking up. What was that? Dude, yeah. That's literally what it's like. You're like, oh, you want to be there for all the glory, but you want to be there when I was struggling and my ass doing whatever. You didn't even know that I had anything in there. I couldn't even get there. I remember that, like, working, you know what I mean, working your butt off. That's the thing, going to summer games. I was working Christmas Day, every year for 6 years. Like, because obviously you get time and a half, so I was like waitress. I'm like, yes, but you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day. But you don't want people to be in those positions. You want them to be able to be in a better
How much
position.
better could we be if you had that as your full-time job, you know?
I know.
Life. All right. Quick fire questions. Which don't have to be that quick, so don't stress. Slow fire questions. What is your start line pump up song?
Oh my gosh. What is my
or artist?
Now it used to be, I feel bad saying that actually. It used to, I don't have, artist would probably be Nicki Minaj. It'd be rap, but now it would be Cardi. But now it would be probably more UK. But it was definitely Nicki. I'd throw Nicki on there, and I'm good to go.
Yeah, and does that get you all fired up when people like start spitting in your lanes and they're putting their feet on the chairs? I got Nicki. So
she's fire. It's a woman. I'm hearing that empowerment and stuff. It's a very aggressive, strong tone. We didn't come here to play. It's basically what I'm trying to get into my psyche. We're not here to play. We're here to do the thing.
Yeah. Nice. Give up meat or give up dairy?
Oh my gosh. Oh, do you know what? Wow. It's got to be meat. I love eggs.
You give up meat?
I love eggs. I'm an egg fiend. So if I give up meat, I can't have eggs. Nah, that's not happening.
So you're telling me that you were going to go get 3 cheeseburgers from your free McDonald's in the Olympics, and now you can't have them? Veggie burgers?
Nah. I'll be all right. I can eat meat. Does meat include fish? Doesn't, does it?
I'll let you have fish.
Yeah, I can have fish. As long as I can have eggs and dairy, I'm good. Because I have milk and stuff. It's hard to get. I've tried to even give up dairy now. I would go vegan. I would do this, but I like eggs. So apparently I can't do that. You can't just have eggs.
I do. I think I've done a little bit of research on being vegan. I'm pretty sure
they're not allowed. But I can't give them. I'm like, no, because they're like staple in my diet. So, and bacon, obviously. And bacon.
Cakes. Okay, so top advice for your 10-year-old self.
Oh, my 10-year-old self. Do you know what? It's funny. I would tell my 10-year-old self that she's a bad bee. I would say, no, I would actually tell, I would tell my 10-year-old self you are actually already amazing, but you need to realize what you can do. Because I was clueless. I look back at stuff now and I'm like, wow, is that me? That's me. I'm actually, if I had me as an athlete, I'd be like, anyone would be like, that's sick. But I didn't even realize. I'd be like, you are amazing now already, but you have to know it. I tell myself, you need to do some work on yourself to know how great you are.
Yeah, rather than coming back from the Olympics and then going, you know what, maybe I could be.
Do you know what I mean? Who does that? Like 10 years have gone, 12 years went past. I could have told myself that at 10 and been like, you're sick, you're amazing. I'd be like, go for it. Learn your. But I would probably tell myself, actually, no, advice I would tell myself to learn my craft. Because I love learning stuff, but actually I listened to a lot of people, but didn't know anything. I didn't learn anything. I learned how to drive phase when I was like 29 years old. Something ridiculous. I didn't know how to do the drive phase in sprinting for about 10 years.
Sorry, you went to, like, you'd been to world championships, won gold medals. You didn't know drive phase.
I didn't know the drive phase. I didn't know nothing. I tell you, my cue for running my British record was
run
to run
line,
as
quick.
fast as you can. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Just step.
Yeah, but it may be, you know what? Maybe everyone's just having, you know, all these sprint coaches out there. Maybe it's all just bullshit because you got a British record and it's just run to that line quick.
It is keep it simple. You got to keep it simple, stupid. I mean, to the pit in me, you have to do that at the end of the day.
All about that. Yeah. Sure. So be a bad bee and listen.
And learn your craft. I'd be like, learn your craft from now. Just learn. Because I love learning. So I'd be like, learn now. Learn what you need.
Chub rub or blisters?
Oh my gosh. Or blisters. Oh man. Oh, I think blisters maybe. I don't like having a blister.
No.
You forget how uncomfortable and sore they are until you get them again.
I'm sorry, but like a blister is more debilitating. I'd break my ankle if having a blister.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's very, you feel silly because it's like having a paper cut. You feel pathetic. Yeah. You're like, how is it so sore? You're like, why am I in so much pain? No, I would, because I recently got a blister and I was like, wow, I forgot. Wow. I'd rather just be, I think. Yeah.
And you forget what life was like before you had the blister. Like, what was life like before someone stabbed me in the foot and found my step?
Like, I feel bad for being ungrateful when I wasn't in pain. Like, why? It's like when you got a cold and you can't breathe. You took for granted how clear your nose was, your nasal passage was for ages, and now you're like, I can breathe. Yeah.
And to be fair, chub rub only really gets me like if I've been in the water. That's the only thing.
I don't get in the water too tough. That's why I would say blister. Because I don't like the water. Yeah. I'm an air sign. I don't do water.
So you're not no swimming transfer.
I can't stand swimming. Oh, it's my least favourite activity to
do. Okay, David Beckham or David Attenborough?
Ha! Do you know what, David Attenborough? Can't not. Yeah, I can't. I couldn't, because that's in. You know what? No, I would David Attenborough. Because why wouldn't you? The knowledge. I mean, it might not be that what I want to know.
Wait, sorry. I would David Attenborough. I don't know what we're talking about. Where we go?
You David Attenborough, but no, David Attenborough. Why not? Older man. Knowledge, experience, all that stuff.
You know what? And I reckon he's going to pop his clog soon. You get in there quick. Imagine
it's
that.
True, because he's gone on strong, you know. That's good genes there.
Yeah, real good. Okay, so you're running a 4x100 meter relay. Which celebs would you pick to accompany you on your dream team? Who do you reckon's secret quick?
Oh, secret quick. Okay, random. I've just thought of this. It doesn't have to be running. It could be anybody. Okay, I'm going Alicia Dixon. I reckon she could actually. I don't know why. I just feel like she could run. Yeah. Does it have to be all women?
No,
it could be a mixed relay.
Yeah,
could be a mixed relay. I'm trying to think, not sports people. Just for the. I should have Nikki on it. She can't run. I would say he'd be quite quick. Santan Dave. I think. Yeah. I think Dave would be on my team. He's on the ends. He could do a little winger. I would have a woman. I would probably have someone just honestly because you have to. Someone like. No, forget that. Can be a sports person. Or no.
Yeah.
Serena's on there. because she can
Serena,
definitely tear. I mean, I don't know if she'd make the line because she's, she's solid. And I'm going to have another guy, and I'm going to say someone like, just for equal opportunities, I'm going to say Liam Neeson, because I love him. He's like one of my favourite actors.
Yeah. And you know what? If you came second, he would take that gold medal. You'd be like, I will find you.
I will find you. I have a special set of skills that allow me to.
Yeah, I have a special set of skills.
He would.
And I will steal that medal.
Just for the joke. I love him.
So your 4x100 is Alicia Dixon, Serena Williams, Liam Neeson, and Santander. Yeah. Nice. I like that.
It's a good mix.
And imagine the after party.
Oh, wow. Could you imagine that? Because Alicia would bring Simon, like Santander would bring all the guys, like Storm would be all there. It'd be Liam could bring maybe... it'd be Jay. It'd be great. It'd be great.
Nice. And then we could all just sit and listen to Serena talk all day. She's a queen. Dream job outside of sport.
If I could sing, it would be a singer. I can sing quite well. But no, I would be a singer if I was really good. I'd be like, can I pick one? Singer. But actually in real life, I would love to be a presenter actually.
Nice.
I doesn't matter what it is. Not sport necessarily. Like I could see myself on Love Island. Do you know what I mean? Like Davina style, Big Brother style. Do you know what I mean? Like anything that's kind of like weird, dramatic, stupid. A bit of jokes, bit of bants. Even if it was a game show, it was a bit funny. I think I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that. But if it was something serious,
so no countdown.
No, as the host that I'd have to make up actually all the stuff, then fine. But no, I'm not being put on the spot to do that. But any game show, love to be a game show. Yeah, something like that would be fun.
Bit of fun, yeah.
Yeah, I think that or a singer if I could sing.
Okay, or a singing presenter. Just go for it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Death row final meal. What would it be? I want a savoury and a sweet.
Well, oh man. Well, it'd be my sweet would be dead because it's popcorn. I love popcorn. I'm
popcorn?
A fiend. Yeah, I'm a popcorn fiend. Anyone knows me. I'm a fiend.
The last thing you're ever going to eat.
I know. I'm just be sick. But then, do you know what? I would delay the death thing because look how long it would take to eat a whole packet of popcorn.
That's true. That is true.
So I'd be there, eating, and then it'd be like, "Is she finished yet?" I'd be like, "Nope." And then it'd be just there waiting. I'd be alive for longer. Savoury. Do you know what? Because I always say, and I do love chicken wings. It's really basic, but I love chicken wings. Just wings, not like thigh. I don't want that. I want just the chicken wings.
You just don't want to waste any of your stomach with anything other than wings.
No,
I'm totally with you.
I'm having chicken wings. That's going to be my meal. Yeah, a massive bucket of chicken wings, and then a massive bucket.
And that's
of popcorn.
Another thing. They take ages to eat.
Do you know what I mean? How many? If I have like 20, 30 wings, I'll be like, yeah, I want 20 wings because they're only small. They can't say no.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like my death row's delayed at least 7 minutes. At least
7 minutes. Oh, you get that going for days. You want to get every little bit of that phone.
Days.
And
I'll be like, she's gone yet? No, 3 days.
Yeah, she's still going. And even when you finish the popcorn, you know it's always still stuck in your teeth. You're like, I'm still eating
I'm
this.
like they're like, open your mouth, and I'm like, haha, still there. You know, they have to check up and down. Yeah, it's still there. Oh, they're like, oh, this.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks so much, Montell, for being on the podcast this week. And I'm going to let you finish it off with your catchphrase for win. What does it mean? Because I love
win. How we win. It's what's important now. So we only focus on what's important now.
I love that. That's a mantra to live by 100%. Cool.
Thanks, guys.
I really like that.